The next set of questions has to do with different categories of real numbers. But before we get to that set, number 13 asks us the square root of 169. You go ahead and type that in the calculator, and that gets you 13. In order to talk about the subsets of real numbers, I'm going to get a blank sheet of paper and do a little diagram here. The first set of numbers I have is called natural numbers. Those are my counting numbers. So when I ask someone to start counting, I'm naturally going to start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, all the way out into infinity. Those are natural numbers. The next set of numbers that I have would be whole numbers. Basically, the whole numbers are all of your naturals and 0. So I pretty much start with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Again, that goes out into infinity. The next set of numbers I have is called the integers. Integers include the whole numbers, the natural numbers, and all of their opposites. So in other words, I have 0, 1, 2, 3. Going further that way into the positive range, I also have their opposites, which would be -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on, continued that way. Beyond that, I have a set of numbers called the rational numbers. These numbers are numbers which I can write in a fraction, which are a terminating decimal. And we'll see that in a minute. And again, they include all the integers, whole numbers, and natural numbers. So that'll be things like 11/4, square root of, let's go square root of 4. Things like 11/7. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go, let's go 11/5. Outside of all these numbers, rational numbers includes all these right here. Outside of rational numbers, I have numbers called irrational numbers. These numbers have decimals that do not repeat. They just continue on forever. Those include things like pi. So let's go back and look at our questions to decide which categories they fit in. The first number I have is 1.68. So 1.68 is not a natural counting number, nor is it a whole number, which would be 0 in the natural numbers, nor is it an integer because it's not the opposites of my natural numbers. However, it is a rational number. But the kicker here is you cannot have a rational and irrational at the same time. So the answer is A. The number 22. Now, 22 is a counting number, so we're going to call that natural. 22 is also a whole number. 22 is also an integer. And it is also a rational number. For number 16, if I type in the square root of 42 in my calculator, I get this number right here, 6.480740. The number continues on without repeating, so it is not rational. We call it irrational. In the next set, they want us to order these numbers from least to greatest. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. I'm going to go ahead and put 5 spaces over here. First, I want to figure out what the square root of 5 and the square root of 2 are. Get an approximation here. This number right here is approximately, when I type it in the calculator, 2.23, and square root of 2 is approximately 1.41. If I look going from least to greatest, I want to start with my negative numbers. Negative 5/3 is definitely smaller than negative 0.1. Then I'm going to go, starting at 0, what would be my smallest to greatest, obviously. So I take 0.7. Then I take 1.41, but they're giving us square root of 2 here. And then 2.23, or square root of 5. The next question says, at the video store you buy 2 CDs for $18.90 and a DVD for $20.50. We want to find the total cost of our purchases. Well, we're buying 2 CDs, so that's $18.90 times 2 plus 1 DVD, which is $20.50. So I just go ahead and type that in the calculator. And I'm going to go ahead and spend $58.30. And your calculator, you're going to see 58.3, but remember we're talking about money here, so you need to add that other decimal place value there. 19 asks, at the grocery store you buy a carton of milk for $3.90, a loaf of bread for $1.95, and a bag of cookies for $3.05. They want us to find the total cost. We're just adding them together. 3.90, 195, and 305. And I'm going to be spending $8.90. Again, your calculator is going to say 8.9 if you do it in the calculator. Keep in mind it's money. You need the extra decimal.